Okay, so I was talking about reading, writing, listening, and speaking, and how that can be beneficial and how you can incorporate that into your day as we continue to be exposed to vocabulary and grammar through these lessons. So reading, I mean, it depends on what level you're at, so I'll just give you some suggestions. So as for reading, you can, I really believe in children's books. I think that some people, what one of my friends was saying, and she's older, is that a lot of adults, you know, whether you're adult at 14, I mean you're not a child, or 24, or whatever age you may be at, or older, when you are learning this new language, there's all this fear about, I should be able to speak, you know, Spanish the way I can speak English, but obviously that's ridiculous, you know? I think you should free yourself from the need to make your second language match your first language ability. I know that's hard because we have all these feelings like I feel stupid, I don't know how to say this, but you know what? What I always told myself, and maybe it was really helpful to me, is like, this is my second language. I don't need to speak it as well as my first language. And that, when I was, 14 and learning, that freed me from the need to like be afraid and like, oh, it's not perfect. And I guess I was lucky that I had that feeling, and I know it's hard to produce a feeling, but you know, by thinking about it and approaching it differently, you can feel differently about learning a language and then act differently. So what if you don't know how to say it perfectly, and if your pronunciation's not perfect? I mean, over time with practice, you'll get better, you know? My Latin professor, Latin is very complex. I don't know if you've studied Latin, but I would say it's much more complex than Spanish. And he always said, you know, if you make a mistake, make more mistakes. Like, get in there and keep doing it. I mean, I don't know if you're an athlete or, you know, whatever you do. If you miss a basket, you keep trying to make baskets until you improve your technique. I mean, with language, if we're talking pronunciation, I mean, these are muscles in your mouth, you know, and just like any other muscle, the more you use it, the more it's able to do what it hasn't been able to do before. I mean, you know, some sounds are hard to make with our mouth because we haven't been used to making them, and for the first few times we might say it wrong, but if we don't ever say it because we're afraid of saying it wrong, then we never have the chance to say it right. I'm not saying make mistakes, because there are some language approaches that are just like, oh, just speak and say everything wrong, and sometimes it produces a glib approach to language where it's like, I'm just gonna just spit everything out and hopefully it comes out right. And I guess that's okay, because I have some people I know who kind of learned somewhat based on that approach, and they actually speak, and their speech is alright, and I've noticed over the years that it has gotten better, but right away, like, it produces a lot of errors in their speech. I think that accuracy is really important, as for me, because I'm the grammar approach person, you know, so I think that's important, but it's not the most important thing to the point where the person should feel scared. I mean, don't be afraid to make mistakes, but aim for accuracy. Don't go out of your way to be sloppy, and the reason I'm saying that is, don't just say, I just want to speak right away, because I don't think it works that way. Like people make a lot of wrong assumptions about language learning, at least I think so, based on some of the research I've done, what I've read, my own experiences. You know, they make connections that are incorrect. Like they say, oh, you know, a baby learns in a natural environment, so instead of learning grammar, I just want to go to class and have the teacher speak to me in Spanish. Well, there's a lot of factors that are different. Like a person who lives in a country, like say you're a baby and you're born in America and you speak English, you're constantly exposed to English, and also you're a baby, so it's different. You don't have the inhibitions that adults will always have to some degree, you know, and you're always exposed to that language constantly, right? Being exposed to Spanish, like maybe even at best case scenario 40-50 minutes a day in a Spanish class, and it's not like your teacher is continuously talking for that 45-50 minutes. I mean, there's going to be different activities going on, passing out papers, whatnot. That's not a real world experience. I mean, you can recreate many real world experiences, but I think it should be partnered with grammar, and I'm not saying that should be the only thing, because I've tried to teach, I mean, I've tutored different people, I've taught different people. When I just do grammar and I'm like so into grammar, okay, I know that I'm kind of maybe a little too into grammar. That's the way I learn, so I know maybe a little bit how to balance it with some fun activities, which I think are important. But I just want people to really, I want to show you through these videos how grammar can be fun, how it can be exciting, how it can change your life, how it can really benefit your second language acquisition goals. And of course, I'm kind of maybe the extreme. I really can learn from a book. I think I have been somewhat successful at learning language from a book, but not everyone's like that. But please do recognize and try to embrace grammar a little bit, and I'll show you how through these videos. But anyway, what I was saying is, don't try to make your first language like you try to make your second language, Spanish, like your first language. You know, just go slow. So in terms of reading, I was talking about using children's books, and I was saying how my friend said some adults would be embarrassed to use children's books. Don't be embarrassed. Liberate yourself. I know one of my friends who won a state or a national, I think it was a state competition. I think she won at the highest level it was a writing paper, some kind of research paper, and she won a competition for it. I don't know if she used children's books in her research, but she told me don't ever underestimate the power of children's books. I mean, if you're writing about global warming or chlorofluorocarbons, there's a lot of children's books on those topics that are actually very interesting and helpful. I know from experience. I mean, that's just an example. But use children's books to learn Spanish. Like, I have my favorite one here, which I will read for you guys one day. My hair is on my face. This is Clifford, viaje. I like this book. It's Clifford Goes on a Trip. And it's really good. I'm going to read this to you guys, and I'm going to make you guys believers in children's books, because I'm such a believer. You see pictures, especially if the pictures are funny. You see words that are simple. You see words that you do know, words that you don't know, but it's not daunting. Free yourself from whatever ideas you had before and be ready for new ideas. So that's the reading. You can use these children's books. I mean, if you're at the very beginning, maybe not. At the very, very beginning, writing. You can do writing in Spanish, like your diary or like your gratitude journal. You can say, doy gracias por mi coche, doy gracias por mi casa. I'm grateful for my car, I'm grateful for my house. You know, you can make a list, or just what happened that day. Hoy fui a la biblioteca, I went to the library, you know. You can always find opportunities to create the language. That's reading and writing. Or writing, you can write to your friends like little emails if they already speak Spanish, or if you guys are learning together, you can, you know, make a little part at the end where you say something in Spanish. You can always find the opportunity if you want to. So that's a little bit on reading and writing. Listening. If you're obviously at advanced stages, you can use the newspaper or other books, but I mean, I think this is more geared toward people who are more in the beginner, intermediate stages. Reading, writing, listening. Listening. Oh my God, turn on the radio, listen to it in Spanish. Turn on the TV when you're cleaning your house, listen to it in Spanish. I mean, do your life, do what you have to do in your car, you know, turn things on in Spanish. I mean, if you don't know where to start, you can Google probably in your area what Spanish stations are good. There's a lot of fun songs in Spanish. Some really great artists, some of them that you probably are familiar with. Shakira, she's amazing. She's obviously a crossover artist. Everyone knows her. There's Juanes from Colombia. There's Nick. He's originally Italian, but I guess the story is, as this was told to me by my teacher, that he's Italian, but he loves Spanish so much that before, I don't know if he's learned to speak Spanish, but he loved it so much that he started singing songs in Spanish. At least that's the story that I heard. I don't know if it's based on like what happened, but that's just so beautiful because it's such a fun language. So expose yourself to the music, to the TV, just turn it on. I mean, even if you're at the beginning stages, it'll help, because you'll always, like, there'll be a commercial that always comes on that says, I'm trying to think of something funny, but like, yeah, for numbers, there's always this, like, this radio station that had this, like, number, and it just stuck in my head. There would be things that you'll keep hearing and you'll learn things. So that doesn't even take any more time in your day. It just takes a little effort. You just change the channel, you know? So reading, writing, listening, and then speaking. Speaking, you can get a little recorder and record yourself. You can make YouTube videos and just record yourself, you know, speaking Spanish and your progression or something like that. I don't know if you want to do that, but you can, I guess. And I heard about something online called phrase-based, but then I checked it out, so I don't know if it works. But just like speaking to other people who maybe are learning Spanish with you, or just speaking to yourself into a digital recorder, like I said before, or the writing. When you have to, you know, writing, you have time to sit there, write, maybe look up a word or something. Writing will give you confidence with your speaking. Of course, it's a completely different activity. Some people write really well in a second language, but don't speak that well. But it will definitely give you confidence. I feel that when I write a lot in Spanish in certain times, like my speech gets a lot better. Like I can say these amazing things, and I mean, even in English, the more you write, some people have really amazing rhetorical skills. They can speak, they can just they have this amazing command of language. I think writing is really helpful, even at the beginning stages and at the more advanced stages. So speaking, you can speak to yourself, you can just, you know, whatever, I mean, you can just create situations. It might be silly, but you got to do what you have to do to create changes and results in your life. So I'm going to stop this video now, because it's getting kind of long, so probably add a little more information though.